Ah! You recognize the voice, bitch!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Don't Shoot the Messenger. Today we have Sauce with us, finally. We've gone 3 or 4 episodes without this guy, so we're glad he's back. And as always, I'm your host, Glenn, and with me, along with Sauce, is JR Swish and Loso. Another episode, guys, of strictly NFL talk. So let's jump right into it. First things first, we're going to talk about some of these coaching changes happening around the NFL. Still a bunch of jobs available and a bunch of big names available. Josh McDaniels, Steve Wilkes, Pat Shurmur, and Matt Patricia are probably the 4 biggest names right now. Norv Turner is the new offensive coordinator in Carolina after Mike Shula was let go. The Bears have hired former Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy.
I think it's Nagy.
Former Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy is the Bears' new head coach, and they've also retained defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. I know that there was a lot of talk on whether or not he'd still be there, but he is still there. So let's go through some of these moves, guys. Sauce, since you're finally back with us, I'll let you start. We'll start with Norv Turner in Carolina. Sauce, your thoughts on that, what he can bring to that offense and Cam Newton?
I wasn't expecting them to go hire Norv Turner, but we'll see how it works out. He did all right, I guess, in San Diego when he had Phillip Rivers and LT, so see if they can get something go with Cam and McCaffrey.
All right, JR?
I don't know. Not the most ideal fit. Norv Turner ain't coached in few seasons. I don't know how much of a improvement that'll be from the previous offensive coordinator. Who was the
Mike Shula.
Yeah, Mike Shula. They said a lot of them are both of them are kind of the same, so we'll see. Or they have the same scheme for offensive game plan. So if that's the case, then it might not be as big of an improvement as they would like. So I will have to see how that turns out next season.
Okay. And Loso, your thoughts on Norv Turner in Carolina?
I didn't see it coming. I guess I should have, since his whole family works there, apparently. I don't think it's really a good signing. If you're looking to improve, I don't think it's what you want. I don't know. If you want to maintain, I guess it's fine. I don't think you're going to add anything to the team, though. I think it'll be if nothing changes, if they keep this pace, I think it's going to be a really similar Panther team to last year, or this past year.
But it's a new face in a new place, so maybe that adds a little spark. But
no, I don't think so. Same shit, different coaches.
There's a lot of good young coaches though, so they could have looked harder.
Yeah, they could have looked.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I wasn't expecting Norv Turner. Now Norv Turner and Ron Rivera. Sorry guys, Sauce is currently playing 2K in the middle of a podcast.
Professionalism.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't really expect Norv Turner, but he and Ron Rivera go way back when Turner was the head coach of the Chargers. Rivera was his defensive coordinator, and again, as you mentioned, Loso, a lot of his family works in the Panthers organization. I mean, his son, all these guys, and I have this crazy conspiracy theory that this is actually a giant Trojan horse, and Norv Turner is actually moving to become owner of the Panthers in some sort of crazy dictatorship power move. I don't know.
Speak on it. You heard it here first on Don't Shoot the Messenger.
Yeah, that's right. You heard it here first, folks.
The Carolina Turners.
But in all seriousness, Turner's a very conservative, old-fashioned kind of guy when it comes to offense, and I don't think that's what Carolina really needed. There's a lot of confidence from Rivera and from the rest of the coaching staff and front office right now on the signing. So more power to him, I guess. He has a good track record with quarterbacks. As we mentioned, Phillip Rivers. He worked with Troy Aikman back in the day, but again, that was an entirely different NFL. So I don't know what to expect. As a fan, I'm not keeping my hopes up because I really think that it's going to be a very similar conservative style offense. Because I think it's mainly because of this, though. Ron Rivera is going to want to have more power over that offense than Turner. So, say what you will, whether or not things will change, but I think it's more of things staying the same down there in Carolina.
I think the biggest factor is, though, if you get wide receivers or not.
Yeah.
Touchdown!
Sorry, guys, and Loso's also playing
a game.
Because he's playing Madden. So me and JR are the only two who are actually, focused on this. So anyway, Carolina definitely needs new receivers. I don't think that's a question on anybody's mind. Moving on now, the Chicago Bears have very quickly filled their head coaching vacancy. As we mentioned, hired former Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy to be their new head coach. Under him, guys, the Chiefs offense, it wasn't terrible. There's only so much you can do without Smith at the helm, but do you guys like this signing for Chicago, or do you think this is another coach that's out the door in 2 years? Loso, I'll let you start.
Well, if you base it on his last impression, I think it's a pretty crappy signing. It's honestly, I think he's a guy that's really hard to figure out, to map out, to see how good he really is. They had such an up and down season. It was really up and then down, really, really down.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be better than what they had. I think that's a slight improvement at the least. It's a low risk. It's a really low risk, but the reward can be really high. We'll see what he can do with the pieces he has over there. And
we'll see what he can do with Mitch Trubisky. JR, your thoughts?
That's about Jordan Howard.
I think it's pretty low risk, but you got to see what he does when it comes to off season and what talent comes bringing in around him. The one positive I have is if he could do what he did with a not to say that Kareem Hunt isn't talented, but with a rookie halfback that not everybody saw blowing up this way, then you can only imagine what he can do with a Jordan Howard. Yeah.
And personally, I think that a lot of the issues on the Chiefs' offense weren't necessarily from him, more so from Andy Reid, and just how.
We have to see if Zach Miller comes back, how that happens, what happens there.
Yeah, Miller's up there. He's on the other side of 30, so we'll see what happens there.
And he also had the disgusting injury he had this season.
Well, yes, obviously.
Yeah, that's rough.
All right, Sauce, what do you think about this hiring?
I'm going to piggyback off of one of your comments. This is just off the top of my head. I haven't done any research on this, but everyone always says Andy Reid is the offensive mastermind. So do we even know how big of a part he played in Kansas City's offense?
That's true.
The Redskins, they operate where Gruden is the offensive coordinator, but we still have an offensive coordinator. So is this guy really calling plays, or does he advise Andy, or what?
The yes man.
What does he do?
He's just the yes man. He might have been just the yes man to an extent.
He's a clipboard guy, maybe.
Yeah. So I don't really know what he's going to bring to the table, but Chicago's got some pieces. Mitch looked pretty good. Jordan Howard. They need receivers, obviously, but
They need to play
It'll be interesting.
running back. Yeah.
I like it better than them just keeping Fox there. Fox is, I think, washed out.
Yeah, Fox needs to retire for sure. And there is some stability there in Chicago. They're retaining defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, as I mentioned. So I agree with all of you. Low risk signing. I mean, might as well give him a shot. I mean, he can't be much worse than Fox. That's how I look at it. So, all right. Relax. Guys, a lot of big names still available for head coaching jobs, as I mentioned. Josh McDaniels, Steve Wilks, Pat Shermer, Matt Patricia. Out of all these guys, Sauce, who do you think gets hired first, and where do you think he's going?
I think maybe Patricia might sign. I think Josh McDaniels might be a little scared to leave New England after what happened in Denver, but I don't know where Patricia would go. I would think probably somewhere where, I think if you're a New England assistant, you're probably going to want to go somewhere where you have like a lot of control, just because you see what Bill has been able to do. Bill O'Brien down in Houston has a lot of control, and he's done pretty good now. He's got Deshaun, so I don't know where he's going to go, but I would think somewhere where he has a lot of flexibility as a coach.
I agree with that. JR, what do you think?
Well, he's rumored to go to the Giants, apparently, but I don't know how well he would fit there. I mean, they have a talented defense. He's known to be a defense coordinator, even though a lot like Matt Nagy. I don't know how much. Like, he was probably much better than Matt Nagy, but Bill Belichick is still the defensive mastermind for me. But Matt Patricia, I don't know if he's ready to be a head coach. But I think if he goes anywhere, he's rumored to go to the Giants. So I would probably say the Giants, because that's the only talented defense of the teams he's rumored to go to.
Maybe a Rex Ryan 2.0.
Well, the one place he doesn't want to go is anywhere in the AFC East, since former Belichick assistants and coaches have such a terrible track record against him.
Yeah.
And I don't think there really is anywhere open in the AFC East for him to go. Actually,
There's not.
No, there's nowhere in the AFC East for him to go.
No.
I think the Giants sound really reasonable. I think that's probably the safest bet. It's between him and Wilkes, I'm assuming.
Did Arizona sign a head coach?
Arizona is still without a head coach.
Maybe he goes and links up with, what's his name?
Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones.
What do you want to do that for a guy that's like, 35 or something?
Who?
Chandler's not that old.
Chandler Jones, he's up there, isn't he?
He's not 35.
I thought he's like 28.
He's like late 20s.
Is he?
Pretty sure.
Chandler Jones ain't that old. Come on, man.
That makes more sense. Yeah, he's 27, actually. He's pretty young.
Yeah, I was going to say the contract he just signed, I thought was his first big one.
Yeah, sorry. Am I thinking of his brother?
I think
Jones?
so.
Arthur Jones.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
Yeah, he's up there.
Third brother to John Bones Jones.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a family.
The cokehead. I mean, the MMA fighter.
There's a lot of rumors going around now that Patricia is going to end up as the head coach in New York. We all thought Steve Wilks was going to end up there, but nothing is set in stone. We mentioned.
Where does that leave Wilks, though?
Well, there's a few head coach. As we mentioned, Arizona's still open. Indianapolis is starting to look more and more like a real possibility for Steve Wilks.
I saw McDaniels for that job too.
Yeah, and McDaniels could end up there, and who knows, Wilks might wind up sticking around in Carolina, and if he does, then I really hope that he doesn't have as aggressive of a style as he had, because over the last few weeks of the season, Carolina's defense was terrible. Guys were out of position all the time, but it comes back to Wilks and his defensive philosophy and his play calling, things he wanted done. So I won't be, initially I was pretty mad at the fact that Wilkes was going to be gone, but looking back at it, looking back at those games, I'm just like, all right, yeah, get Wilkes out of here.
I thought of it.
Rub it on a Craftmatic.
I wasn't gonna sing it.
I think Josh McDaniels should have a better go at this head coaching thing than he did last time too.
I agree.
Fortunately for him, there's no Tebow to draft, right?
Well, guys, while we're talking about head coaches, obviously the biggest one, John Gruden to the Oakland Raiders. However, the NFL is currently looking into whether or not the Raiders did not comply with the Rooney Rule, which, as we all know, is a rule the NFL put in place years ago to ensure that minority coaches get a fair chance in the interview process and to be hired. But here's the thing. We all knew Gruden was going to Oakland, and whether or not the Raiders officially complied with the Rooney Rule by conducting an interview with a minority, it didn't matter in the end. So
it's irrelevant.
Exactly. So I guess my question for you guys is this: what are your thoughts on the Rooney Rule in today's NFL? I mean, is it still something that we need to have put in place? Obviously, it was put in place for a reason, and it was important to have it when it was put in. But if anything now, could it seem as an insult? Because, looking at it from this perspective from the Oakland Raiders, these are just my thoughts on it. And this is coming from a white guy, so, take everything I say with a grain of salt. But, from the outside looking in, it would seem to me that it's more insulting than anything to just bring in a minority for an interview when you're not going to hire him. You're just complying with the rule. I don't know. To me, that seems kind of wrong, I guess. JR, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the Rooney Rule in today's NFL, this whole issue with the Raiders? Go ahead.
I don't know about the issue with the Raiders. It's just, the rule could be a little bit better. The Rooney Rule in general is, I understand everybody understands the point of it, but it's just it's kind of dumb to an extent, because it's all right, you got to interview a minority or two, even if you're not going to hire them. It's kind of disrespectful to them, but at the same time, you're only doing it because it's a rule, so you don't get fined. So it's they could just I don't know how they would fix it necessarily. Just
right. This whole thing seems like a slippery slope.
That's dumb. I understand the point of it. Just don't interview a minority. Well, you have to at least. But
right, you have to because it's a rule, but at some point it seems to become more insulting than anything, because you're literally doing it just because you're required to, even if you and that person know that there's no chance that they're getting that job.
There's not zero chance, but
they're not going to interview somebody that's not even the head coach or something just to interview them. There has to be some kind of
interest, I would think.
Yeah, there's a reason even if it is just to comply with the rule, there's a reason they brought them. There's a reason they chose that minority to bring in.
Yeah.
Right, but I guess the whole thing with this is we all knew Gruden was going to Oakland.
Well, I feel that's a different case. I feel like that should be left to interpretation. If it's obvious that John Gruden, before he's even done working as a broadcaster, he's going there, then obviously they didn't violate shit, because nobody else was going there. No matter if you're white, black, green, yellow,
an alien, that make a difference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just like the catch rule. You don't go fuck a catches in the NFL, but now you want to decide whether or not they're being racist about shit.
Yeah. Sauce, what are your thoughts on this? You've been pretty quiet.
I think that in the general since the Rooney Rule is good, and I think that you can probably say that it's worked out in the last 10 years. I mean, now we have a lot more African American head coaches, and Ron Rivera is Hispanic too.
And a Hispanic head coach.
But I don't think that the Rooney Rule really applies to Oakland, like Los was just saying, because everyone knew Gruden was going there. But if you have a job that's up in the air, then definitely everyone should get their chance. But
the truth is, a franchise is going to rather hire a white guy, like it or not.
Go ahead.
So you might as well, I guess, help him out a little bit.
Yeah, but I do like, protecting the prospective coaches against like some of these older white owners that are 85 years old that may still be living in the past.
Which is like 90%.
Well, in regards to that kind of ownership, I think we're very slowly but surely starting to see a change in that. I mean, the owner of the Jaguars, Shad Khan, I mean, he's very outspoken, very supportive of, when the whole NFL was kneeling at the beginning of the season. Shad Khan was right out there kneeling with his players. That
was just an image.
Was the Rooney Rule named after what's his face?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But Shad Khan was just an image thing. He's the same guy that donated money to Trump's campaign and everything. Like, these owners are going to say, look at Jerry Jones. The guy's a scumbag and he kneeled with his team.
Well, that's what my initial thought went to, Loso, was how Jerry Jones went out there and kneeled with the Cowboys for nothing but a photo op, it seemed like. But I don't know. With Khan, it seemed more sincere, I guess. But if he did donate to Trump's campaign, that's one thing entirely. That's another thing entirely. I wasn't aware of that. But I think you guys are right in the sense that it's important for us to have the rule. In Oakland's case, it might have been a little bit different. I just don't. My whole issue with this thing is I don't want this to become a regular thing where there are guys out there who pretty much already have the job before the interview process has already begun, and then it's, we have to, interview a minority to comply with this rule. You know what I mean? I just want to make sure that everybody's getting a fair chance.
But here's my question: what's the issue with it though? Like, who's getting hired, and then they go, we have to interview a minority first, though. But the guy's still going to, what's it take from it? He's still getting the job. It's not, it's not taking anything from anyone.
What does anyone know what's the penalty if you're found to not comply?
It's a fine of some sort. I'm not sure what exactly, but
so even if they don't comply, it's not going to hurt the big pockets.
Right. And I think that. Well, let me ask you guys this: do you think if you increased the penalty for not complying with the Rooney Rule, then we'd see
I feel like all teams follow it right now? Honestly, I don't know. I feel like teams do follow it at the moment. Well, not all teams, but
right. I mean, like I said, it's a confusing situation, and it shouldn't be. I guess you know what I mean.
It seems like the rule is working though. Bowles just got hired. The dude in Denver got hired.
Vance Joseph,
yeah. I agree with you, Sauce.
It's a $200,000 fine, which is nothing, but
yeah, that's not. I was thinking maybe you can't sanction them in colleges or anything, but I was thinking at least
the biggest thing would be to take away draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or TV games or something that's really going to affect their money.
The Rams don't have to worry about that, though. They don't have TV games to lose to start with.
They're going to have a bunch next year.
Okay, hopefully.
So,
about time.
Yeah. Yeah, and this will be the last thing I say about it, guys. But again, just going back to it, if the league finds that, the Raiders didn't do anything wrong, I just don't want that to set a precedent for future teams in regards to whether or not they comply whether or not they actually comply with it.
So you're saying teams are just going to start hiring people before anything happens, just to say that to avoid it, pretty much. They'll announce their hiring before even interviewing anyone.
Well, it might be behind closed doors or something like that. Because as far as this whole John Gruden thing goes, who knows when talks with him going to the Raiders really actually start? You know what I mean? Obviously Gruden's been a big head coaching name for a while now.
Since he got fired, probably.
Yeah, right. But I don't know. It's hard to put my thoughts into words here. And like I said, I'm just a white guy, and I don't want to speak.
I'm just a white guy.
Said no one ever in history.
Yeah,
just a white guy.
But it's the truth, and this isn't something that this maybe isn't something I specifically should be speaking on, because this is like obviously it's not something that if I was the coach in the NFL, it would affect me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean,
so
I don't think that a person of color got snubbed from the Oakland Raider job because John Gruden is getting hired.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody got snubbed. Well, it's anybody and everybody got snubbed. No white man had a chance. No black man had a chance. No Hispanic man had a chance.
Right.
Well, the one Hispanic man didn't have a chance.
That's it. All right,
I don't even know if you consider him Hispanic, honestly.
All right. Before we move on to our next topic, does anybody have anything else to add about the Rooney Rule and your thoughts on it? No, nobody.
No.
I think we covered that pretty well.
Okay. JR?
Nope. What? Nope.
Do you have anything else to add?
I said no at the beginning.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I thought that was sauce. Anyway, so JR, I'm sure this is going to make you sit up and start joining in the conversation. Le'Veon Bell apparently has said that he might sit out or even retire next season if the Steelers decide to franchise tag him again. He's been wanting a big deal for quite some time now. The Steelers franchise tagged him prior to the season, and he was not happy about it, and he wasn't shy about letting people know he wasn't happy about it. So, JR, since you're our Steelers fan, I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts about this, and is there any credibility to Le'Veon Bell potentially not playing next season or ever again if the Steelers decide not to give him a long-term deal?
Do you think he's going to sit out for $15 million next year, or play, or not play at all?
That mixtape's hot.
Oh no, he's a garbage rapper. Stop that.
That mixtape's hot.
Juice is loose.
I just can't believe Todd Gurley forced him into retirement.
$15 million or no money? I think he has 15 million reasons why. He's going to get tagged again because they're not going to reach a deal by the March 6th deadline. So they have till July to figure out a long-term deal. All it is he wants his guaranteed money because he doesn't have a problem with the per year. He's getting 15 off the top per year.
I fucking hate this game.
It's going to be insane. He just wants the guaranteed money, but the Steelers don't give away guaranteed money. The only thing the Steelers give away in their guaranteed contracts is the signing bonus. They don't have guaranteed money on top of that. The only thing guaranteed is their signing bonus, literally. Antonio Brown signed for $70-some million. The only thing he got guaranteed was a $20 million signing bonus. It's crazy how that works.
I think Le'Veon's personality, it doesn't mesh well with the Steelers. For as good of a player as he is for the Steelers, I don't think he has the Steeler personality. I think Steelers they're really serious, quiet, get your stuff done type of team.
I think that's changing. I think Juju and Antonio, I think it's changing. Even with Tomlin.
It's changed a while ago since they hired Tomlin. Yeah, since they hired Tomlin. Yeah.
This isn't Bill Cowher's Steelers anymore.
Exactly. This is a.
That's not really what I was alluding to, though.
I mean, I think if the Patriots were to undo their neckties and have fun, I think it'd be the Steelers.
Well, it's not. I mean, you've already got Rob Gronkowski doing whatever he wants. So, I mean, imagine a whole team of that.
I meant more in terms of like management, not really the personnel.
And that's not even, weren't even Bell's exact words. He said he would consider it because the Jeremy Fowler, the reporter on ESPN, asked if he would sit out or retire. And he said, "I hope it doesn't come to that, but I would definitely consider it." But there's no reason for him to sit out and miss the entire season of football at running back, get a year older. I mean, he would still come back and get paid even if he wanted to try to sit out, but that would be like dumb on his part, just to waste the season. Like, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, JR. If he chooses not to sign his franchise tag tender, or he's unhappy with the offer, do you see any team giving him that contract with that guaranteed money that he wants?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there could be a team, yeah, but they're not going to let him get to that point. They're just going to tag him, and he'll have to sign it eventually, or he can sit the season out, whichever he wants.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Le'Veon Bell, and you guys franchise tag me again, I'm not sitting out. That's ridiculous. I get wanting a long-term contract, but my gosh, I mean, how much would his franchise tag be this year? $15 million?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not losing $15 million because I want, a deal that lasts 3 more years than this one. I'll keep taking 1 year, $15 million deals. Heck,
Well, just keep going up and up and up. But they can only
exactly.
But I think there's a max of tags. I don't know if you can tag a guy like 4.
Whatever it is, I think Kirk Cousins has reached it.
Yeah. What, Kirk Cousins on his 2nd or 3rd year here?
Going on the 3rd tag this summer.
3rd tag, possibly. My God, but he could. No, if they win on Sunday and then if they make it to the Super Bowl and he turns into the Super Bowl MVP, then they'll probably throw in a few extra million in his signing bonus, and then he won't have nothing to complain about. So there's his.
Sauce, what do you think?
I'm definitely. I mean, I understand this tag business well. Thank you, Kirk Cousins. But I think they'll get the job done. I mean, didn't he held out for like preseason, right?
Yeah.
He'll probably do the same thing, sign and then come play football.
Yeah. Loso, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm here.
Put them joysticks moving mad fast.
Put the controller down and join the conversation, pal.
Give me 1 second.
He's eating.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on, and this is gonna make Loso join the conversation.
Future Steeler from
LA Rams GM says future Aaron Donald deal not exactly a priority right now.
Guy's an idiot.
Yeah, I figured that would
from a current Steeler to a future Steeler and Aaron Donald. Oh.
He's not a current Steeler, dumbass.
I said from a current Steeler, as in Bell, to a future Steeler and Aaron Donald.
Hey, fucking wish, kid.
I mean, what do you think about that? You're the Rams fan here.
I believe his words were, "That guy's an idiot."
Well, to start off,
expand on that idea.
Let me elaborate on how fucking dumb this guy JR is. If you think that Aaron Donald even wants to grace the freaking Steelers and be their greatest franchise defender of all time, that's just not happening. So Troy Polamalu could just stay right there in first place because Aaron Donald's not going there and taking that spot anytime soon.
He's coming home.
Now, to address that idiot of Les Snead. What is the priority then? That's my question. Not the priority. What's the priority? He's going to be a free agent. We have a bunch of free agents coming up, but none of them are the cornerstone franchise player that Aaron Donald is. None of them are the best.
He held out too, right?
What's that?
He held out too, right?
He held out, yeah. But he held out a year earlier this year, which is kind of interesting.
Well, hey, he knows, Aaron Donald, you could argue a case that he's the best defensive player in football.
Oh,
I mean, not just the best defensive lineman, the best defensive player.
It's a stone cold fact. It's one of your Coors Light hard cold fact or whatever.
But yeah, I mean, I'm right with you, So if signing him to a long-term deal isn't a priority, then what is?
This game, man.
I mean,
oh yeah, what is?
Like you said, you've got a bunch of free agents coming up. Sammy Watkins, who the Rams did say that they were thinking about franchise tagging.
He's catching the tag.
Jermaine Johnson, LaMarcus Joyner, Nickel Roby-Coleman.
Future Panthers there, huh?
God, I hope so. I'd love to have LaMarcus Joyner. Well, any of those guys, really. But anyway, I think that it would be a huge mistake to let Donald walk. I mean, somebody's going to give him that giant contract that he deserves. So,
future Steeler.
Oh,
yes.
Not a future Steeler.
Future Steeler.
You guys even have the money for him?
Probably not.
Shelling out franchise tax to Bell.
I mean, yeah. Not really, but yeah.
Sauce, what do you think? Does Donald walk away from LA?
Glenn calls him the Donald.
The Donald, the only Donald we acknowledge.
Exactly. I like where your mind's at, kid.
I don't know. I mean, like Los said, it's interesting that he showed up angry about his contract a year early. So I don't think Bell would leave, but I definitely think Donald would leave if he found money in the right place.
Who do you think would offer him that contract?
I mean, maybe I don't know. Like, I don't think Pittsburgh will, because Pittsburgh doesn't really sign big people like that.
Yeah, they would.
What about, like, I don't know what off the top of my head, like, Seattle's money's looking like, but if the
Seattle, no,
if the Legion of Boom is gone,
they can't even sign an offensive line. You think they're going to sign the best player in the NFL?
I'm just saying, or maybe like the 49ers or.
Oh yeah, let's just keep them in the division for some freaking weird reason. You want to say a team that's not in the NFC West?
Maybe he'll go to the Browns. Who knows?
Thank you. There we go. Looks better.
Maybe.
Look,
No,
the Browns got all that cap space.
As much as Snead said that he's not the biggest priority, I think that's just to keep, I don't know, I guess expenses low. But, I mean, I think he doesn't really mean it, you know?
Yeah, but isn't Aaron, like, an emotional person? He wears his emotions on his sleeves. I wouldn't want to tell a guy that's the guy that, oh, yeah, you're not a priority.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And, for him showing up last year angry over his contract, that's kind of telling about the direction that LA wants to take, whether it be
yeah, but in terms of how Aaron felt, I think it's a completely different team that he was mad at.
Sure, Jeff Fisher's gone.
True.
Not even from top to bottom.
Sean McVay, the negotiators here.
The problem last year was that he wanted a front-loaded contract with an opt-out. Like, who the hell is going to give you that?
Yeah, that's a terrible deal.
Yeah, nobody's going to give you that crap. And the only reason he wanted that, he probably thought we're going to go 7-9 for the next 5 years. So I think he'll be more reasonable with his contract this year, seeing that we actually have a future. Hopefully. I hope I didn't just jinx it there.
All right, guys. Now, our last topic for today, and this is one that absolutely breaks my heart to talk about. Thomas Davis, longtime Panthers linebacker, said today that 2018 will be his last season in the NFL and he will retire afterwards. What do you guys think about the career of Thomas Davis?
What do you think? No, you're the Panther fan. I'm seriously. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I'll go first. It breaks my heart, but I think he knows it's time. He said after the loss to the Saints that he was expecting a very reduced role next year. I can say as somebody who watched every second of every game that at times it looked like he lost a step, whether it was being in the wrong spot, missing a tackle, taking the wrong angle. on a tackle. But, watching his entire career, I think he embodies the whole spirit of what it means to be a Carolina Panther. For crying out loud, the motto of the team, keep pounding, just basically means don't give up at its core. Tore the same ACL 3 times. Could have quit all 3 times.
That's just bad luck at that point, man.
But all 3 times could have quit and came back, and after that 3rd time was at the best of his career. He became an all-pro linebacker. He helped. Played with a broken arm in the Super Bowl. That's a warrior. And
yo, stop with the freaking phone.
It just sucks to see. They drafted him in 2005.
Besides Steve Smith, is this like the biggest retirement, like as a Panthers fan?
Yeah, I think so. The whole deal with Smitty is
just wait till 2019.
An entirely different situation because they let him go. It wasn't a retirement. It was, we're getting rid of you.
But just like as it goes, like Julius Peppers hasn't retired yet, and other than that,
I think Julius Peppers is still thinking about whether or not he wants to come back for one more year. If he does, I'd love to see him come back one more year and try to get him and Davis a ring before they finally hang it up. Now whether or not it'll happen, I don't know.
With North Turner.
With North Turner, but I just Thomas Davis is my favorite football player ever, and that's coming from a guy who watched Steve Smith terrorize defenses for years.
You have a Thomas Davis jersey?
I do.
He wore it last episode, I think.
Yeah, I think last show I wore it.
Got the voices cracking.
But I'm sad. Let me be sad. But I think I speak for for the whole fan base when I say that we're really going to miss him and his leadership, his attitude, everything about him. Like I said, it embodies what the Carolina Panthers are meant to be. But what do you guys think about his career from the outside looking in?
He's a dog.
Yeah, he was a B.
He's a dog.
You think he's a Hall of Famer, Glenn?
Glenn thinks yes.
The biased me thinks yes. The realistic me says probably not.
Well, I can't tell you his career stats off the top of my head, so that's why I was asking.
I saw them earlier today. He has 1,032 career tackles, I believe.
Is
20
he top 10 in anything? Sorry, at least for
I don't think so. He's an outside linebacker in a 4-3 zone heavy defense, so he's not going to have a lot of sacks. Throughout his career, I think he's got less than 30 sacks. He's got maybe 12 interceptions, 13 forced fumbles. It's not very high. So statistically, no, I don't think I just don't think he has the pedigree to get into the Hall of Fame.
Super Bowl ring.
But he's definitely going to have his jersey retired, and hopefully he gets a statue outside the stadium. I'd love to see that. But man, it just sucks to see. So, oh well. All right.
Who's
your next favorite Panther when he's gone? Luke?
Yeah.
Greg.
Yeah, Luke, Greg Olsen, Cam.
You think Greg's retirement is going to be a bigger thing? Not for you personally, but for Panther fans.
Greg Olsen.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Just because I'm not saying that it's going to be any less than what Thomas Davis's was, but Thomas Davis's whole career has been here, and like I said, he came back from the 3 ACL tears to the same knee. Played with a broken arm in the Super Bowl. And don't get me wrong, Greg's had an amazing career here in Carolina, and I've loved having him. And, I love his game, and I don't want him to have to retire anytime soon. But, here within the next 2 to 3 years, it'll probably happen. But I don't think that it'll necessarily be more impactful to the fan base than Thomas Davis retiring, if that's what you're asking.
So what do? Draft a receiver first and then a linebacker?
A tight end. That's what they draft.
Yeah.
I mean,
Play receiver.
right now, I think right now Carolina's biggest concern right now is certainly wide receiver and then the secondary all around, corners, safeties. It feels like we say this every year. Every single year we say Carolina needs wide receivers and help in the secondary. And, now we're having to add to the list. Need an outside linebacker. I love Shaq Thompson on the other side, but I mean, right now, if Thomas Davis were to hang it up right now, we're looking at a linebacking core of Luke Kuechly, Shaq Thompson, and David Mayo. And I don't think I have a lot of faith in a white guy whose last name is Mayo.
Yeah, and Luke's injury history too, so you hope that he's good. But.
Yeah, that might be a 2019. Hopefully not. Never mind. I won't even go.
Relax. I think that Luke and Thomas Davis have both certainly helped one another throughout Luke's time in Carolina. I think they've both made the other look even better than what they actually are. So I think once Thomas Davis leaves, I mean, Luke is still going to be a dog, but I think that I think when one of these guys misses a tackle or something like that, the other one's right there to make up for it, so it's not as noticeable. But let's say Luke misses a tackle and then he doesn't have Davis there to help him. So I mean, I'm not saying that he'll decline or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's going to be a lot different of a defense back there without him there. So that's it for this episode, guys. Unless
fuck Bama.
Yeah, congratulations to Alabama for once again destroying the hearts and souls of football fans.
Every American that's not from Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Well, especially the football fans in Georgia, and congratulations to the fans of a football team in Georgia for your team blowing another multi-score lead in a championship game. Nobody does it quite like you guys, so congratulations.
So Carolina
doesn't blow leads; they just get behind early and never come back. So, but that's it for this episode, guys. Sauce, I'm glad you were finally with us for this episode. Despite the fact that you were playing 2K the whole time. So for everybody here, all of us that don't shoot the messenger, Loso, JR Swish, Sauce, our producers, our directors, which is all four of us.
Our makeup lady,
yeah. Our assistant,
our
executive
stylist.
producer.
Our assistant to the manager to the assistant
to the regional manager.
Shout out to the donut boy for making the spread today.
Thank you.
We couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. We will see you on the next episode of Don't Shoot the Messenger.